Welcome to War Bios, where we delve into the intricacies of history's most pivotal conflicts. Today, we're going to explore one of the most brutal and decisive battles in human history, the Battle of Stalingrad. This epic clash between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union was a turning point in World War II, showcasing the strategic brilliance and tactical innovation that would ultimately shape the fate of Europe. As we embark on this journey, let's set the stage for the origins of this monumental conflict. The seeds of the Battle of Stalingrad were sown in the early summer of 1942, when German forces, led by General Friedrich Paulus, launched Operation Blue, a massive campaign aimed at capturing the city of Stalingrad and securing access to the rich oil fields of the Caucasus region. The Soviet Union, still reeling from the devastating losses of the previous year, was determined to defend its territory at all costs. The city of Stalingrad, situated on the western bank of the Volga River, was a strategic prize that both sides coveted. Its industrial complex, which included the massive Barricade factory and the Stalingrad tractor plant, produced tanks, artillery, and other vital war materials for the Soviet war effort. The city's location also made it a crucial transportation hub, with rail lines and river traffic connecting it to the rest of the Soviet Union. As the German forces approached Stalingrad, they encountered fierce resistance from the Soviet 62nd Army, led by General Vasily Chuikov. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Soviet defenders were determined to hold on to the city, and they employed innovative tactics such as hugging the enemy, staying so close to the German lines that their artillery and air support couldn't be used effectively. The Germans, however, held the initiative, and their superior artillery and air power allowed them to gain a foothold in the city. As the Soviet defenders fell back, they established a series of defensive lines, utilizing the city's terrain to their advantage. The Germans, eager to capture the city quickly, launched a series of frontal assaults against the Soviet positions, which resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. The Soviet leadership, aware of the gravity of the situation, dispatched General Georgy Zhukov, one of its most able commanders, to oversee the defense of Stalingrad. Zhukov's presence helped to stabilize the Soviet lines, and he played a crucial role in planning the counterattack that would eventually turn the tide of the battle. As we explore the origins of the Battle of Stalingrad, it becomes clear that this was not just a battle for control of a strategic city, but a clash of ideologies and a test of wills between two of the most powerful armies in history. The Soviet Union, driven by a desire to protect its people and its industry, was determined to defend Stalingrad at all costs. The Germans, fueled by their ambition to conquer the Soviet Union and secure access to its vast resources, were equally determined to capture the city. The city, with its strategic importance and symbolic significance, would become the focal point of a maelstrom of violence and destruction. The winter of 1942-1943 proved to be a turning point in the battle, as the Soviet Union launched a series of counterattacks that would eventually encircle the German Sixth Army. The Soviet forces, led by General Georgy Zhukov, employed a clever tactic known as the pincer movement, where they attacked the German flanks and rear, cutting off their supply lines and escape routes. This bold strategy caught the Germans off guard, and they were quickly overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the Soviet assault. As the battle raged on, the city of Stalingrad became a mere shadow of its former self. The once thriving industrial complex was reduced to rubble, and the streets were filled with the bodies of the dead and the dying. The Soviet defenders, however, remained resolute, fighting fiercely for every inch of territory. They employed innovative tactics such as hugging the enemy, where they would stay so close to the German lines that their artillery and air support couldn't be used effectively. The Germans, on the other hand, were struggling to maintain their grip on the city. Their supply lines were stretched thin, and their troops were exhausted and demoralized. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Soviet defenders continued to push forward, driven by their determination to defend their homeland. As General Vasily Chuikov, the commander of the Soviet 62nd Army, famously said, "The Volga is behind us, and there's no place to retreat." One of the most significant events during this period was the Battle of Mamayev-Kurgan, a strategic hill that dominated the city's skyline. The Soviet forces launched a series of brutal assaults on the hill, which was heavily fortified by the Germans. After days of intense fighting, the Soviets finally captured the hill, giving them a crucial vantage point over the city. As the battle reached its climax, the Soviet Union launched Operation Ring, a massive assault that would ultimately seal the fate of the German Sixth Army. The operation involved a series of coordinated attacks on the German flanks and rear, which quickly overwhelmed their defenses. On January 31, 1943, the Soviet forces captured the German headquarters, and General Friedrich Paulus, the commander of the Sixth Army, was forced to surrender. The Battle of Stalingrad was a decisive victory for the Soviet Union, marking a major turning point in the war on the Eastern Front. The German army suffered catastrophic losses, with over 300,000 casualties, while the Soviets lost around 800,000 men. The battle marked the beginning of the end of Germany's ambitions in the East and paved the way for the Soviet advance into Eastern Europe. We've explored the critical moments that decided the fate of Stalingrad and ultimately shaped the course of World War II. The surrender of the German Sixth Army on January 31, 1943, marked the beginning of a long and difficult process for both the Soviet Union and Germany. The city of Stalingrad was left in ruins, with over 90% of its buildings destroyed or damaged. The once thriving industrial complex was reduced to rubble, and the streets were filled with the bodies of the dead and the dying. The Soviet government faced a daunting task in rebuilding the city and restoring order to the region. In the aftermath of the battle, the Soviet Union began to push the Germans back on all fronts. The Red Army launched a series of offensives that would eventually drive the Germans out of the Soviet Union and into Eastern Europe. The Battle of Stalingrad had marked a significant shift in momentum, and the Soviet Union would never again be on the defensive. The German army, on the other hand, was left to pick up the pieces after their catastrophic defeat at Stalingrad. The loss of over 300,000 men and the surrender of an entire army was a devastating blow to German morale and prestige. The battle marked the beginning of the end of Germany's ambitions in the East, and it would never again be able to launch a major offensive on the Eastern Front. The Battle of Stalingrad also had significant implications for the war effort as a whole. It marked a major turning point in the war, as the Soviet Union began to gain the upper hand against Nazi Germany. The battle also marked a shift in the balance of power between the two main Allied powers, the United States and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union's victory at Stalingrad cemented its position as a major world power, and it would go on to play a significant role in shaping the post-war world order. Today, the Battle of Stalingrad is remembered as one of the most significant battles in human history. It marked a major turning point in World War II, and it had far-reaching implications for the war effort and the world at large. The battle also serves as a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who fought on both sides, and it continues to be studied by military historians and strategists around the world. As we reflect on the significance of the Battle of Stalingrad, we are reminded of the words of General Vasily Chuikov, who said, "The Battle of Stalingrad was not just a battle, it was a turning point in the war." It marked the beginning of the end of fascist Germany and the beginning of the liberation of Europe from Nazi occupation. The legacy of the Battle of Stalingrad continues to be felt today, and it serves as a reminder of the importance of perseverance and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. In conclusion, the decline and aftermath of the Battle of Stalingrad marked a significant turning point in World War II. The battle had far-reaching implications for the war effort, and it cemented the Soviet Union's position as a major world power. As we remember the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers who fought on both sides, we are reminded of the enduring legacy of this pivotal conflict. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.